Hi there.
Hey, Judy, Dave Lawrence, Hawaii Public
Hi there.
Radio.
How are you doing?
What's going on, buddy?
Oh, it's a blizzard here.
Yeah?
Oh, now it stopped snowing now, so about 10 minutes ago.
Well, that's a good. What they're doing is they're trying to prepare you for how nice it'll be in Hawaii, where
That's right.
unless you're going to the top of one of the mountains on the Big Island, you're not going to run into any snow when you're here.
That'll be good. That's a good thing.
You've made this sort of a regular routine recently, I've noticed
Yeah,
now.
I'm so happy. I love Hawaii. I love to be there.
And was it your idea to start doing a regular yearly thing or just a promoter? How does it, sometimes it's just the weirdest thing how those work out.
Well, it's a combination. The promoter wants us, which is great, and we have the time, which is great. So it's kind of a come as you are fancy party, and if you're free, you get to go.
Well, we're always grateful, and it's wonderful we get to have you back here on HPR with us.
Thank you.
It's like a yearly thing. We're making a
Yeah,
tradition.
making a habit out of it. I love it.
Bill Maher does the same thing right at New Year's, so he's kind of
That's
like
good.
I like the regular December guy. And when we first had you on a few years ago, when you started your recent run of regular Hawaii dates, you had a fascinating story, and I think for a lot of fans of public radio in particular, and definitely of you, your dad seems like such a study in both, obviously someone who had a huge influence on you, but a study in determination himself. And from what I read, blind, a singer, pianist, and a radio show host.
Yes, he had his own radio show, brilliant radio show. He played all the songs. He was a wonderful pianist and singer, and even wrote some pretty good songs.
So it was
And
mostly like him playing live on the radio. That was the
that's
format.
right. That's right. We're trying to change the Wikipedia to get off the idea that he was a. Hang on a second. Listening to my own song.
Yeah, I'm thinking this is surreal.
Let me turn it off here. So he was quite a fellow. He was a wonderful performer, brilliant man, very, very well read. And, he kind of took the high road there. He decided that nobody was going to tell him that he couldn't do what he wanted to do. And I think that's a good model for me. You just keep your nose to the grindstone, do your work, and things will happen that are interesting and different.
And you were part of the show too, though. It wasn't just a huge inspiration in terms of your dad, but didn't he use you and have you do little bits and stuff?
Oh, yeah, he'd get me on the show, and, but he was also very enthusiastic about anything that I was doing. And I think, people in general have to remember to support whatever it is their kids want to do. I mean, except if it's drugs and murder, I think we're okay to say, let's support our kids when they want to do something that might sound a little crazy.
Right. I hear what you're saying. Crazy within moral boundaries, I guess it might be.
Exactly.
And did that have the what? I wonder. I think about the pop, and obviously he's playing music. He's doing it on the radio, so a lot of entertainment things coming together at once there to influence a young lady. But taking classical piano lessons at 13, how does that begin? How does that arrive in your life?
Well, I started at 4.5 or 5 years old because my father.
Can I get you closer to the mic? If you're just a little far.
My father recognized that I had some kind of talent, and so he got me with great teachers. And in fact, he found Dr. Rico for me in Colorado, who, of course, was a great teacher and conductor, and she's the one who got me playing Mozart with her orchestra. But I was playing all the time. I tell you, it's a part of my life. I'm still practicing every day, and it's a calling. I mean, it's not for everybody, but it sure does satisfy a lot of my demons.
And that teacher, funny story too, right? That teacher was somewhat disappointed in your budding interest in folk music, and even after you were a success, kind of looked at it like, wow, you could have been this big classical piano person.
Right. She always said you could have really gone places.
That must have shocked you, and she's telling you that. I mean, didn't she come and tell you that after you were doing a big sold-out show or something?
After a big concert at Carnegie Hall.
And what's this lady's name again?
Her name was Antonia Brico. Well, she had her own orchestra at Carnegie Hall for 4 years during the war. During the Second World War, she had her own orchestra, and she was, renowned around the world. So I was up against this Dutch Italian ferocious woman. She taught me a lot. Patience, for one thing.
Wow, two big characters that we're uncovering here between your old
Yeah.
man and the teacher. I mean, right? These are two formidable people that we owe some credit to for who you are.
Absolutely. They were my teachers, no question about it.
How do you first pick up the guitar with these kind of you got this two piano oriented cats between dad and the teacher, and then you end up on the guitar, which is what you're really known for, or at least associated with more commonly.
Well, I was about 15, I think, just barely, and I heard some songs on the radio. I heard Barbara Allen and the Gypsy Rover, and they weren't Woody or Pete, but they were great, and they were great stories, and that's what hooked me.
And then it was Woody and Pete hearing their music on the radio?
No, I heard them I got very involved with the Denver Folklore Society pretty quickly, and I heard them from a guy named Lingo the Drifter. Yeah. He came to town and got his own radio show, doing a lot of Woody and a lot of Pete, and this was before I found folk music, but he loved my father's show, and so he would come over and hang out with my dad, and he would play This Land Is Your Land. My father would play songs from South Pacific. So it was a very funny combination. But they adored each other, and that's where I heard Pete and Woody, and then, my history unfolded before me.
So that helped. What you're saying is that was the introduction really to the guitar too, is with them, or
Well, I needed the guitar
to
right
get the
away
music.
because I knew that the guitar was a secret.
Right.
To the whole shebang. I mean, I went to Wells Music Company in Denver, and I said, I want to buy this record of Barbara Allen, which was, by the way, sung by Joe Stafford, of all people.
Hmm.
And so the guy showed me to the rack of albums and showed me how Joe Stafford and Paul Weston, who was her husband and orchestrator, had jumped from Capitol Records to start their own label so that they could put out Scottish folk songs. I mean, this is another instance of people doing what they wanted, no matter what they were told.
Right. And so, that had a huge influence on you.
Yeah, all of these incredibly interesting folk artists appeared. Everybody from Bob Gibson and Josh White and Woody Guthrie and Pete to the Clancy brothers and everybody else. Everybody had a record then. The old timers, they all had records, and I had the opportunity to learn a lot of songs and to get a collection of pretty much traditional songs first. And pretty soon I had a job. I was getting actual money, being paid to sing this stuff. I mean, I didn't think that was possible. But my first job was in Boulder at the Michael's Pub, and I just was fired up from then on, and I've never stopped. Really.
How did you end up, because it's funny how radio factors so much into your life, because I read you end up on the opposite coast. You're out in University of Connecticut playing at the radio station with David Grisman.
Maybe. I made a record with Dave Grisman, and I did a radio show in New York on WBAI for a couple of seasons, and I recorded Mimi and Dick Farina. Those tapes are lost, by the way. I don't know where they are. I was just searching today through a few things to see. Maybe I mislaid it. I had Mimi and Dick. I had Kerner Ray and Glover on that show. I had Tom Paxton on that show. I had the McPeak family, who always sang, "Oh, the summertime is coming, and the leaves are sweetly turning." And I met them and worked with them in Belfast in '65, but I had them on my radio show in '64 in New York.
How cool that you have that. I mean, so how long did you have the radio show in New York?
It was short-lived because I was obviously traveling and touring. So I think I must have done, 3 or 4 months, I would say.
Wow.
And but I loved it, and I knew about the radio business, so to speak. And radio's and now, of course, I do a lot for PBS. I've done many shows over the years, starting with Sesame Street. I did about 16 different episodes of Sesame Street, and then I did the Muppet Show in England. And then I started doing specials for PBS, number of them. Going backwards, it would be the Sondheim is the most recent. Then comes the Irish. Then comes me at the Metropolitan Museum in the Temple of Dender. And then comes, I think, the Wildflower Festival with Arlo and Tom Rush and Eric Anderson. It just goes on and on. It's wonderful.
What an incredible journey. But I guess none of them really compare with Snuffleupagus.
No, doing an what's it called?
Duet.
Doing an aria with Snuffleupagus. I don't know that even Renee Fleming has done a duet with Snuffleupagus.
What a great name. And when you meet Snuffleupagus, do you meet the people who are underneath that first?
Well, you do, but honest to God, you do, of course. But honest to God, these characters are characters unto themselves, and you get friendly with the character. You don't get friendly with the person who's behind the puppet. You get friendly with the puppet himself or herself. In the case of Miss Piggy, that's a little hard because she's so jealous of me with Kermit.
But Snuffleupagus is a male?
As far as we know.
Right. Yes.
But in opera, you can never tell.
Right. As you were talking, I was starting to think, I wonder if Snuffy, I didn't know if I had the gender right all these years.
I think he's a guy.
Right. And more contemporarily, but I guess going from back then, and then it brings you all the way up to modern times. You've been, I guess it was last year, you and Stephen Stills rehooked up. It was 50 years ago.
Yeah.
I know, that's scary. Who wants to see that?
50 years this year.
We won't have to say it. Was it this year? I thought it was last year.
Well, last year was the tour, the first time we were together, so it was 49 years. But now it's 50 years since we did our album. He played on an album of mine called Who Knows Where the Time Goes. And we had an affair, and he wrote Sweet Judy Blue Eyes, which is very nice of him. And then we had this really, I think, extraordinary friendship. He always says that we stayed friends because we've been married to other people. He's been married to other people many more times than I have. And he has 7 kids, so you can see he's done his work with his various wives. My son, God bless him, died 25 years ago, took his own life 25 years ago.
Right.
My tragedy. And
God bless him.
He's out of his pain, he's out of his difficulties, but, we still hang in there, remembering how great he was. And he was.
And that's powerful stuff.
Clark and Stephen knew each other pretty well.
Wow.
Oh yeah, and they communicated still, over the years. They were in touch.
Meaning spiritually.
No, I mean, he would call, or they would call, or somehow they would meet, or places. Clark would say, "I should call Stephen."
Wow.
I mean, they had a friendship of some kind. I mean, it wasn't my friendship with Stephen, but it was my son's, and it was different, of course. But he knew my whole family.
That's a pretty powerful thing, and your connection to him. There are situations like that, but to have an epic song that has meant so much to so many different people, and as you know, as a songwriter, songs can take on a really important life in your fans.
Yeah, they can, absolutely. And they have their own life, after all. Songs, when they go out of your hands into the world, they go where they want.
They really do. They're powerful. What a song to have as a part of your legacy, and maybe
it is amazing.
Maybe you'll bring him out here, and you guys got some plans coming up in the future. Maybe you do a thing with him next year. That could be a way to.
So he wants to go to Hawaii, so perhaps we can pull it together soon.
You could, or I'm thinking you could do, because you had that like classical thing, the aria kind of thing with Snuffy. Maybe you could do like the three tenors. Well, you could do like the three, I don't know what, the three Collins peoples, and have like you and Stephen and Snuffleupagus do like
yeah, maybe so.
and could bring the whole family to something like that.
Maybe so.
Well, great talking to you as always, and really appreciate your time. Hopefully, how long are you in Honolulu this time?
Just a day. You know, I go from one place to the next.
Right. They work you quick like that.
They do indeed, but I'll be glad to be there.
Well, we'll be glad to have you there, and thank you so much for talking. It's always a pleasure. I really appreciate it, Judy.
I love it. Thanks so much, and stay warm. Stay safe.
You too. Aloha.
Okay, bye. Aloha. Aloha. It's Judy Collins. And when I'm not hanging out with Snuffleupagus, or Bill Clinton or Stephen Stills, I'm hanging out with my good buddy Dave Lawrence. Hooray.